All right. I had to come up here to Temecula and meet Tiffany because she's with my Mortgage Readiness, like sending her clients to get us ready, my clients ready, our whole team ready for getting into a mortgage. So we had to come and get a glass of wine too. So we're not just going to sit in the office.
Arm.
Yeah, right?
Twist her arm to come enjoy this beautiful, the ambiance and some incredible wine.
Right. So cheers to that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Even my cameraman who's got a glass of wine too. All right. So I wanted to chat a little bit about what she does because she's been in this field for over 20 years.
Almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years. So that's a long time. So talk to me a little bit about what that looks like because I feel like so many people call it credit repair, which we both were like, isn't that just like
cringy?
Yeah, cringy. Like it's not like fun to talk about. So I feel like when I am able to refer clients over to her, that we're all on the same page of what that looks like. So talk a little bit about what you do.
Mortgage
Day-to-day,
readiness.
Mortgage readiness.
You know, it's funny because having been in the industry so long, there was a time when you could say credit repair and it wasn't cringy. Right. It was just like, oh, I need credit repair. I need FICO. I always call it FICO plastic surgery.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And that happens, right? People have life issues. But over the span of 20 years, essentially bad actors essentially took over the industry. You know, there was everybody that under the sun that wanted to essentially take advantage of consumers who had already struggling, right? They would just essentially charge them money and then underperform, if ever perform, for the consumer. So we really got away from using the phrase credit repair for many reasons, right? We want to make sure that it accurately describes what we do. And I feel like credit correction, of course, at a minimum, but mortgage readiness, what an exciting thing that we can do. And so CredEvolve is very different than for-profit credit repair. You and I were talking briefly about, what's the difference really? And credit repair is essentially the industry is laden with consumers essentially hiring companies that are charging them upfront fees and then frankly monthly fees. And then sometimes if the consumer just never reaches their goal or ends up worse than when they started, which is the
So they
worst
just
case.
do literally monthly and just kind of drag them on.
Yeah. And the consumers are like, I haven't talked to
To
anybody.
do it. Yeah,
I'm paying all this money. I have no idea if it's working, if it's not working. I'm getting random updates on Credit Karma, but I don't have a counselor. So we're very different than that.
Okay. How?
Okay, so we partner credit-challenged consumers who want to become homeowners with their own personal credit counselors. And the credit counselors are nonprofit HUD approved credit counselors, but they're also mortgage-specific counselors. So, for example, do you want to stop for a second?
No, it's fine. We have people walking.
Sorry.
So, no, let's go.
Hi. Okay. So how it's different is that we partner nonprofit HUD counselors. They're housing-specific credit counselors with consumers. And it's similar to, you had mentioned, like you owned gyms, right? Yeah. And it's very similar to that, where the consumer would be assigned their own personal credit counselor who meets with them every single month, sometimes 30, 45 minutes at a time, and really addresses and meets them right where they're at. Right. So every single consumer credit report is like its own unique fingerprint. So what might be impacting you is very different than me.
Sure.
And it cannot be a one-size-fits-all solution. Right.
And that's how it is buying a house. And that's why I get so frustrated with agents that are just they do the same thing for every client. Because everything is different. Everybody is different. And our team has to stay very strong in order for it to be really easy as they go through that process.
Absolutely. Right. If you treat people like a number, and it's just very systemized, then it's not going to be effective and impactful.
Right.
What I love about what we do is, of course, we talked about mortgage readiness. Almost 99% of our clients want to buy a house.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Everybody does, sure.
And they might meet with you and absolutely fall in love with their dream home and then have that, the lender pulls credit. They're not qualified. And they're like, oh, my goodness, I didn't know. And they need direction. And they need ethical strategy, right? So we do anything from working with consumers on what we call creating a spending plan. In the old days, that was referred to as a budget.
Right.
Nobody likes that word anymore. I don't like the word budget.
No credit report, or credit repair, no budget.
Yeah, we don't like budget.
We don't want a budget.
Budget sounds so restrictive.
Yeah, right?
I like spending plan budget.
Yeah.
But it might be that, right? It might be helping them to understand what it looks like to save for a down payment.
Right.
It could be debt management, where essentially the consumer needs help managing the debt that they have. COVID was crazy. People were, bombarded with unexpected life events, scenarios. And it might be helping consumers negotiate collection accounts or settling collection debt. in a way that aligns with underwriting guidelines
Sure.
for mortgage readiness. So it's all the things.
So when you take a client, take me from like the beginning. So somebody gets probably, does it start with like, hey, I can't get a pre-approval or I can't get into a house? And then you get that referral over?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, normally it's that the consumer is disappointed by having been told no.
Okay.
Right. And that's discouraging.
Oh, yeah, because they're probably already looking at houses, and don't look at houses until you have it.
Yeah.
Because people do, and they're like, well, I think this is what I could buy. And I'm like, you're not even pre-approved. And then we find out they can't even buy right now.
Right.
And now they're really frustrated.
And to the contrary, I have some that say, well, I don't even look because I think I'm years away, when really they were only 3 months away.
Yeah, right.
So you don't know, right? And so I always say, talk to a lender. Don't be afraid to do that, right? And if there's issues on credit, I don't, to quite frankly, know very many consumers that had perfect credit when they bought a home.
Right.
So you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be amazing, credit to buy a house. And quite frankly, it could be as low as a 640 or sometimes 620 or 580, depending on the actual loan. So it's absolutely possible to qualify. So don't get in the weeds as a consumer and say, I'm not going to be able to purchase a home and not know for sure, right? But it would be a simple handoff, usually from the lender, that would say, I'm working with a client. Would you please reach out and schedule a free consultation? A free consultation is done, and I love it because they can be done on Zoom, where you can see the eyeballs of the credit counselor, or over the phone. And our deep dive is really completed, where we look at that credit report. We're going to identify what loan program, maybe they may know, they may not, they want to obtain, what their time frames are. And then at that point, we'll create a strategic action plan or a success plan for that client, which will allow us to create a map for them and give them an idea of what it's going to take and how long it'll take.
Yeah. No, I love it. Yeah. What do you have? Do you have questions about it, cameraman? He's always on all my videos. So after that, how long does it typically take from start to finish?
Great question. So on average of 5 months, as little as 3.
Oh, wow.
So we have some that complete the program in 45 days, and those would be people that just have minor tweaks that they need. For example, they need just a little bit of help, right?
Yeah.
And then we have some that need more. So I like to answer that question, again, using the analogy of weight loss, right? It's like some people say, well, how fast can you lose weight? Well, it depends, right? It depends on how much diet and exercise and what's needed. But an ethical company would never be like, guaranteed 100%. Yeah. But to be honest, if you blink, you're at 5 months, and it's like next thing you know, you're a homeowner.
And I really think it is all about not being embarrassed. And I think there's so many homeowners that get embarrassed, and so they start backwards, and then they need to they should have just started the proper way. And it's not embarrassing. Nobody has perfect credit, and we're here to help. And you're not just a number. So it's like trying to help you get into the house.
Absolutely.
So what is so different? Because I know with credit repair, they kind of put you on the hook of just like you're paying a monthly fee. You're kind of just don't know what's going on. So talk to me a little bit about the difference of that.
I think the main difference, well, there's many differences, but I think the for-profit credit repair world is all about how long I'm going to say this, but string a client along. They may make a difference. There's ethical credit repair companies out there. Of course, I've worked with many that in the years ago, but most aren't, right? And you have the norm. But typically what they do is very generic. They dispute things off of a credit report. They'll just send generic letters to the credit bureaus, usually done very unethically, and in a way that will, temporarily remove something. It's almost like a Band-Aid.
Oh, really?
And really what we're trying to do is create a path forward for consumers that they can maintain, right? That they can take with them, and learn from. But it's more than just removing negative information. I think that's really the difference, is that although we do that, we can absolutely have things deleted ethically and legally. But not everything about your credit score is reliant on that process alone. And if we were to look at the credit improvement or mortgage readiness requirements, there's so much more to a loan application than just your FICO score. And so we need to create a journey and a success plan for the consumer that's aligned with their underwriting guidelines and the mortgage goals.
Right. So are you across all the states? Tell me a little bit about that. Are you just in California, or?
No, we do. We work with clients in all 50 states.
Okay.
Which is great, right? If you've got someone in the military that's moving from, Georgia to California and vice versa, we can work with clients anywhere, which is so incredibly rewarding for us. And our counselors are just phenomenal. I mean, accommodate any sort of consultation time. For example, I have some consultations, especially in California, that start as early as 6:30 before people go to work.
Okay.
And all the way to sometimes 6, 7, 8 o'clock p.m., depending on the time zone of the consumer.
Okay, that's awesome. And then how often are they meeting that counselor?
They meet once a month.
Okay.
And that's mostly because we can't pull credit more than once a month. It won't change sooner than once a month. But again, we want our counselors and especially our clients to realize that the counselors are accessible.
Okay.
So although they have a scheduled time that's set with their counselor monthly, we have some clients that I like to tease them a little bit and say they're kind of like Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, sure.
They're going to call again the very next day. And that's fine, right? We want to make sure they know that we're there for them.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to keep shooting some video, but we'll stop there and grab us on the next one. And we still have our first class win, so we're still good. All right. Thanks, Tiffany, and we'll be right back.